Hello, good morning. I have been so touched by your guys' interest and compliments on the masterboard that I used in a previous video, and request to do a tutorial, and I'll call this a make-along. Let's craft together. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a masterboard. It's basically an entirely different set of tools. What I like to use are geometric stamps primarily. There will be a few, a few with letters, with words. Maybe on the last one I used this bird cage. So maybe some of that, but a lot of it is going to be pretty abstract. So I've got that stuff. We're going to need various papers. I pulled out, I've showed you these black ink international papers before. So we're going to pull out some of these. I have these bags that I've gotten paper packs. You can get them at Walmart. You can get them at the dollar store. So we're going to use those. We're going to need some stencils. I got some decoupage paper out. We might even use some of the old maps. And then it's a great way to start working through some of the scrap piles. So we're going to pull these out as well. And let me get this to where I can reach it, but it's not completely in my way. Another really good thing to use on masterboards is tissue paper. So I've got a load of tissue paper. Old sewing patterns are really cool. I'm starting with a piece of paper that it's like a cardstock. I wish I knew the weights of these things. I didn't. It's not super heavy. If you go really, really heavy cardstock, you're going to have a hard time cutting it later into your pieces. So I've got my paper tacked down. I've got my paint brushes and my silicone spreader. This thing is magic if you use any mediums or gessos. So let's just get started. And a heat tool. A heat tool is extremely helpful if you don't want this to take days. So I'm not patient. So that's what I like to do. So the first layer, I want to start. Now I've grabbed stuff, but I haven't actually thought it through yet. So FYI, we're still going to have to do some thinking. I really like this. I don't think I want it to be my first layer because we, of course, are going to cover and cover and cover and cover. So I'm going to use scraps. So we're just going to grab a pile to start, and we're just going to start going to town. I like to use, you can use matte medium. That's usually what I like to use. I think I'll start with trying to decide if I want to start with glue stick and then go matte medium, or just, well, you know what? Look, I got this giant thing. I'm going to shake it up. I got this giant thing. Let's just use it. Oh my God, it's stuck. Okay. Make sure I'm not too far in your way. And we're just going to start laying things down. This is a really good project for forcing myself and yourself to just go. Just go and start out. Is that making a big shadow? It is making a big shadow. Where can I put this that I can reach it but not have a, there, shadows in the corner. Nobody cares about that shadow. All right, we're just gonna start laying things down. under and over to seal them in. So we do both. And this brush gives you a really nice, thin layer. You don't want your base layer to be too thin or it is going to, you'll see it starting to warp. It's okay with this. It will flatten back down. I'm just gonna start laying things out. You can still be, you know, selective with your color scheme. You don't have to start small. You can go with bigger scraps for sure. In fact, let's go ahead and pull out, oh, let's see if I can even reach it. We do have a box of some bigger scraps. Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna knock stuff over, but we're gonna give it a try. Oh man, that's loud. I got my box of bigger scraps. So I'll just make more of a mess and start grabbing some of these too. Here's a napkin. You can use that too. That's one of the really fun things about decoupage is you can use just about anything. Here's some thin paper. We will mute it down, so that is okay. I think I want this to be in this, let's see. I'm just gonna start tearing. You can go straight edges, you can go rough edges, you can do anything. The key to making this, sorry, I'm gonna move some there, now I can see better. To making sure that this turns out and dries well is to dry each layer. So I am going to go over this just a touch because of the size of this, but that's okay. We just don't want to go, you know, multiple layers deep here. And using your fingers to also smooth it down helps with these bigger pieces. Yes, you're gonna get messy and your fingers are gonna be covered with glue. Let's see, that's not very flat, is it? Let's see if we can get that more flat. That's not, there, that's better. Okay. Let's see, what else do we want to throw in there? How about this? That'll cover a nice bit for our first layer. Yeah, I'm gluing over my tape, but that's okay. Sometimes you really got to put a lot of this medium down for the thicker papers. Different thicknesses of medium obviously work a little bit differently. This is a pretty thin matte medium. You could go glossy. I like matte personally, but you can certainly go glossy. page actually has some stamps on it. Let's make this a little smaller. And let's go sideways. This is definitely one of the, it takes a while and it's gonna look a hot mess for a bit. But the nice thing is if you end up with something that you don't like, you just cover it up with another layer. All right, here's some tissue paper that had some coffee on it. Let's pick a little bit to put right there. How about this? Well, and we kind of missed a little. Let's add a little more. With the tissue papers, you have to make sure that you're working a little bit more gently. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it on there and I'm going to go real slow. Barely touching. Same with napkins. Barely touching. You will rip it. Okay, let's go ahead and, I'm not really liking the bubble right here. Let's see if we can flatten that out a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and hit this with the heat gun to dry this layer, and then we'll keep going. Okay, we can see here that this did not have enough. Other thing you can do is just use your finger. It can definitely be a really fun and messy process. If you liked finger painting as a kid, you are gonna love this. One way to tell if it's dry, if you're using matte medium, it won't be super shiny. So that's a way to tell that it's dry. The other thing is you can touch it. If it is cool to the touch while you're dry, you know, after you dry it, then it's not quite dry yet. It's very similar to hair in that wet hair can't hold heat, neither can wet paper. So now don't stick your hand in front while you got your heat gun. That's not going to be helpful. All right, let's add a bit of napkin. When you're doing decoupage with napkin, you're gonna wanna pull it apart. There's usually 3 plies, and it's easiest to get apart if you rip it. So there's 1, there's 2, and we only want the top layer. Set that to the side, and with napkins, you definitely want to put enough down that you can lay it carefully from the middle and not have to pull on it while you're doing it. So here we've got plenty on there, I think. Set this over there. This medium, this matte medium dries a little faster than some. So I do got to work a little quick, but it's also affordable. So I really like the Liquitex, but when I ran out, okay, so I'm going to need more underneath that side. When I ran out, I was using a lot of it, and so I did not want to, I wanted it to last. There you can see I did a little rip, so I'm just gonna leave it. This is our bottom layer. A lot of it's going to be, well, all of it probably is going to be covered. I'm gonna go over, let's see, go under here and over very slowly and gently with this. Some bits you can really work a lot, and some bits you do not want to work very much at all, and these are not very much at all. Okay, I think we're fully covered. I say that and then I keep going over it, but I'm barely touching the paper, to be honest. Okay, what else do we want? Do we want more of that? Let's do, it's a pretty color. Let's do more of that up in the corner. We want to get our first layer. Well, this is kind of layer 1.5, right? But we want to get this fully covered, and then we're going to use gesso to what I've heard called push it back. And it used to hurt my heart to do that because you're losing so much detail, but you also have lots of layers to go. So I would not recommend putting your favorite pieces of paper on first. Those want to go on last because they will be covered. And I'm just going to use my finger ever so gently to make sure that we don't have any bubbles. I think we are good. Okay, so there's that. What else do we want to get on here before we get any further? How about, what do we got here in our scrap pile? How about some tissue paper? We can add more blue. Looks like this one might have a blue theme, but who knows, it could change later. Grab some tissue paper. I'm going to put that up here against this edge. And then we'll fill a couple of other small spots and then we'll dry it again. It's okay to go over the edge. You can trim it later. It's pretty blue. My thought of taping down the corners up there didn't work very well. Go over the top gently. I like to try to keep these first few layers pretty smooth. Well, this has a little texture, but pretty smooth. We can add texture as we go. Here, will that cover? Good enough. Let's just throw that little guy in there. Got some white spaces here I'd like to cover. How about a little bit of this ledger paper, ledger looking paper. You can go straight I can't remember if I already said that. You can go straight edges. You can go rips, tears. You could do shapes. Lots of things. I think we want a little bit more yellow up here. And even though we're going to be pushing this back and we're going to be muting a lot of this, oh, that's not straight. Oh well, we still want to, we can start seeing a composition come together. All right, I think that is sufficient for this layer. if you don't have one of these, use your fingers. You can use a regular paintbrush. You just got to make sure that you wash it really good before it dries, because I can't tell you how many paintbrushes I've destroyed with this process. So let me pause you, and I'm going to dry this. Okay, so that is dry. I'm going to put away my, I'll just off to the side here, my medium for a second. One thing to note about these, it's essentially an embossing gun. They get really hot. So if you hold them, I mean, they're meant to melt plastic. So if you hold it in one spot too long, you will bubble your glue. So you want to make sure you're moving it. They do make like hair dryer type heat tools that are probably better for this. I only have the one, so that's what I use. But you could even just use a hair dryer. That would totally work. A hair dryer on a hot setting. Might take a couple extra minutes, but it would totally work. Cheers coffee. Okay, so next I want to push this back. I want to mute it. My gesso's getting really low. So to do that, I use white gesso. You could also use white acrylic paint mixed with some water. Yeah, anything that, whoa, holy cow, gesso. What? Oof. Well, that's okay. We'll use it, but man, didn't need to spit at me. Okay. You can use a paintbrush to do this. I already pre-wetted my paintbrush, and you're just going to go over it like this. Now it is fully dry. The gesso dries a little bit lighter than it looks when it's wet. So we're not covering it up as much as it looks, although I might have a little too much on it. Let's get some of that off just in case. And so we're just going to move that around. You don't have to do it on the whole thing. You can. You don't have to. You can leave little spots. You could do just about anything. If you feel like you got too much, you might have pushed it back a little too much here in some spots, although it is going to lighten up when it dries. You can always take a baby wipe and just pick a little bit of it up. And it gives you some texture too. So let's just pick some up in some areas. Get our dragonflies a little bit more visible there. I have a fly. Why do I have a fly in my craft room? Okay. Gesso dries really fast. So you can see here, even if in the areas that I didn't pick a bunch up on, it dries lighter than it looks when you first put it on. So I'm gonna hit this again quick, and we'll just keep you going. Excuse me. So you can see this is definitely, now there are some little wet spots, but we're going to be pulling out other papers and stuff. So I'm going to give it a second to just dry while we're doing that. So I think I do want some of this to show through. So I'm thinking we want to go with, do we want to go straight for our decoupage paper, or do we want to do something else? Maybe some of this. Definitely something that you can see through. Here's a tea bag. We could use that. You can see through that. What else do we got over here? There's a little piece of sewing pattern. Here's one with some print on it. We can use that. We've got a lot of blue, so let's see what other colors we might want to bring in. I don't know if I have, that's pretty, we might want to use that at some point, a little or a lot. What else? No, I don't think we want to go red. Let's see what we got. That might look kind of cool somewhere. There's some vintage book page in there. I don't know why that's in my big scrap bucket. That's not big. There's another piece. I don't know how I got these things organized, but those aren't big scraps. Those are little scraps. I must have initially, when I started organizing my scraps, I must have thought that I was going to only keep teeny scraps in the one container, and then I went nuts and just started stuffing everything in there because it's closer to where I work. All right, sorry for the noise. There is that. Let's add some transparent items, and maybe some little not transparent items. We'll just rip this up into 3 pieces and we'll put them somewhere. What else do we got here? Oh, hammer toe. Let's do it. Why not? That's kind of funny. We can add some more music. Maybe we want a big piece and a couple of little pieces. All right, so let's do a bit of a neutral layer here. I think that'll work. We slide some of this other stuff out of the way, and we'll just have our bit here that we're going to grab from. I suppose I could put them on this side, couldn't I? All right, back to our matte medium for this layer. Oh, this is gonna come off. Set that to the side. I've managed to leave the lid on for quite a while, a little protective lid to keep myself from gluing it shut, gluing the lid on, but it looks like we might be at the end of that. Now, as we're getting through these layers, you'll find that it's okay to leave some texture. And as we get to the really top layers, you might find that you like the look of squashing things up and then flattening them back out. They make a really neat extra bit of texture. I'm not doing a whole lot of thinking about where I want stuff at. That's kind of the beauty of this process. If you just, well, there, I got a lot of texture in that one. Oh well, it's down now. I'm not gonna care too much. It takes some of the, not decision making, you just kind of want to try with your instinct, I guess, if that makes any sense at all. Just put it somewhere and see what happens. If you don't like it, you can cover it up. So here I put down a lot more than what I actually wanted, so I'm just going to hold this where it's wet and pull on the dry spot, and we'll get a rip. And that works just fine. So what other things? Let's see, we were gonna put on this tea bag. I think that will look nice right here. because this has so many wrinkles in it, I think I'm going to need a little extra to be able to squash it flat. A little extra, oh my gosh, the extra medium gives us some wiggle room, right? Because it's gooey and we can be gentle with it. It helps move it. If you don't have enough down, it's quite hard to move it because you're working on a dry surface. And these papers, these thin papers do tend to stretch a little bit, not very much, but enough that it really makes a difference if you start in the middle of the paper and work the 2 different ways. 4 different ways, I don't know. Depends on your shape, I suppose. Set that guy there. And we're gonna put our hammer toe up in the corner. So that's from a medical dictionary. Let's stick him right there. What else did we want to put on? Here's another piece. And you'll see that it just starts building. I want that to go this way. And then we can do different layers of different things as we go. And that's where a lot of the fun comes in. I know I cleared off our dragonflies and now I'm covering them, but that's how it goes with this process. All right. Now you could just glue. You don't have to cover the top of everything. You could just glue. I like sealing each layer because then I can use things like markers or paints or inks, and I know it's not going to sink in because this matte medium forms a barrier from one layer to the next. So that is why I like to use that. Oops, I left a big amount right there. Okay, I am going to go ahead and hit this again. Dry what we've got. We could do a little more, but oops, I just stuck my finger in gesso. It's not a clean process, guys. I had a rag and I don't know where I set it. I guess I'm using this. Okay, be right back. Okay, we are dry. Oh my gosh, now I've got all these scraps. A giant pile of scraps that are on top of what I need. I'm stuffing them, guys. I'm stuffing them. We're still gonna use them, but we need them out of the way. We're gonna do a layer of stamping. Now, I want to have some backgroundy stamps. One of the things to note with this, because we're going to cover it with matte medium, that is adding a wet layer. So your Distress Oxides, your Distress inks, anything that is water reactive is going to smear. So there's a couple things you can do. I prefer to just use permanent ink, but another thing that you can do is if you seal it straight down and don't move, you can, it tends to work. So you can use a sponge, you can put some matte medium on a piece of plastic, spread it out and go straight down, lift it, do it again. You can use a brayer, but you only can go over it one time. So let's try that technique. Let's go, I'm going to use some speckled egg. Put a little bit of writing on here. Oh, you can't even see that. Let's see. Can we see it if we go here? Not really. Okay. Change of plans. Not that. Let's go with the chipped sapphire. Now this is going to be, make sure I don't have any other on there. Let's go with this one. It's a little easier to use. I'm going to stick her on here. This is going to be purple, but we're just trying it out. And if we don't like it, we can always cover it up with something else. Okay, so let's let that dry for a second. And I will show you the difference in using some plastic versus using, it's not quite dry. It does take a second to dry on this. Okay, so I actually have never tried this technique, but it makes sense that it would work. So we're gonna try it together. And if it's an epic fail, then oh well, we'll just cover it. So I'm gonna stick a little layer here. You can see that. And I'm gonna stick it down right over the top. And I'm gonna pull straight up. You can see that it did pull a little bit of the ink off. So now let's let that dry. And I will show you what happens. I'm just gonna grab some of this. I'll show you what happens if you just try to go over it. See, it just smears. So let's give this a quick dry and test this out to see if it gave enough of a seal. Here's our moment of truth. I'm gonna get that off because it's got purple in it. So let's wipe this. Where are you? Oh, well, there's my rag, clear over there. Get a little water on it. I've got my water cup sitting right next to my coffee, and you want to be careful. I don't want to put it in my coffee. Although it is much worse to pick up the wrong cup to drink. I've done that. It's pretty gross. You don't want your gluey paint water in your mouth. It's yucky. All right, let's see. Yes. So that did. It sealed it fine. Then the next time you go over it, it's not going to smudge. So there's an option that you can do if you want to use your Distress inks. So since we've got a little purple, let's put a little more in a couple other places, and then we'll go in with our black and brown stamping. All right, that feels okay to me. I'm going to go ahead and do this again. I'm kind of excited that this works because that means that we can now use our Distress products. Oh, I smushed down. Okay, so let's not do that again. Let's do it. Let's not smush. Let's just gently lay it. Or maybe I just had too thick of a thing here. Let's gently lay it one time. Lightly touch instead of so much smoshing. and we're gonna let that go. I might not have gotten all of it, but we'll see. All right, so I'm gonna grab Archival, and we're gonna do some black stamping. We can do some, we'll do some brown as well. Let me see what I can do here to make us, oh gosh, I'm making a giant mess. Well, that's gonna have to go in here in the trash, making a giant mess. So let me get this out of the way for the moment, so we have some more room. Close that up. While we're waiting, I've still got some gesso over here, so I'm just gonna give us a couple of light spots. Just spread it on. I don't want to waste. Oh, just pushing that back a little bit. It all just adds, you know, a little bit more interest. Just stick it wherever. Lots of different spots. Okay. Now, let's pick some stamps while that's drying. We can hit it again with the heat tool if we need to. We can, you know what, maybe instead of stamping on this layer, let's do a little bit of stenciling first. So there's a couple different ways, well, actually there's endless ways, I should say, that you can do stamping. Stenciling. You can use paint, you can use gesso, you can use ink, you can use sprays. I've never used sprays. Let's see if I have any that are, you know what, I don't think I have any that are water resistant. Let me see. Those are all bright colors. Here's Spray Stain. Let's see. Mist with water to blend color. So that's a no. Well, if you have water resistant sprays, you can use those. Let's see. I think, trying to think here how we want to do this. If we want to add some color, I'm taking a peek at some paints. We could add a little bit of yellow. Would be nice with the blue and the purple. So let's mix up some pale yellow. I'm gonna get the gesso out of the way. And, oh, knocking stuff down. I'll wash my brush here. See, I got piles of stuff. Set those papers there. We don't need that. These are for our splatters. Set those out. Move this over here for now. Okay, so let's set this off to the side. Let's bring a palette in here. And I got this like jewelry holder, I think they called it, at the dollar store, and it works really nice for a palette. And you're gonna get some glare. Sorry about that. But let's mix up some very pale yellow. Oops. Just gonna use my acrylic paint. This Craft Essentials. I don't know what brand it comes from. Oh, Joanne, it looks like. It's really thin. I can't give any advice on the different kinds of acrylic paints because I don't know the behavior of one brand from another. That's a much nicer thickness. Let's mix that up. Yeah, I like to mix with my fingers. That's pale, but not, oh, that's gonna be irritating. Let's see, can we set that up on something? That help? No, not really. How about this? So we're not too noisy. Better. All right, let's do some yellow dots. So I'm just gonna put some here. And you can do just some rubbing. Well, that didn't work very well. All right, let's wipe the back of that. Wipe the back of that, and we're gonna try a different approach. It may just be because it's so thin. Let's grab a palette knife and see if that will help. About a little bit right there. Grab just a little bit of paint. I think it might just be too thin. All right. Next option is a paintbrush. Maybe it's just because my thing is so warped that it's going to be a problem, but that's better. Not really. We're going to put just a little bit more, and well, that worked better. I probably just had too much on my brush. But remember, if we don't like it, we can cover it. It's really not a big deal. Okay, I'm not loving the paint. I'm gonna skip any more paint, and we are going to go ink instead. But I still want circles because I really love dots. I don't know why. I love having dots on my stuff. Where'd I put? Oh, guess we're getting a clean white. I'm just gonna do it over here. Wipe that up. If you don't have a glass mat, you can work on wax paper or parchment paper. They will all work. They will all work. Let me hit this quick so we don't have to wait. Okay, let's proceed with some black dots, black polka dots. Let's go here, and I'm going to use the brush. You could use this brush, or since they're so little, we can use this brush. You can go as light or dark as you want. Yeah, the big brush is a lot faster. The other thing you can do is just take your dauber here and really go to town. Squashy straight down. You can see how, oops, kind of sticky, how nice those look. I love dots. I don't know why. I want some here. And I'm going to use this. Is it great for your foam? Probably no. But I don't, well, I care. Sure, I care, but not enough to not do it. All right. All right, we got some black dots. Now, let's go in and let's do a little bit of grungy. I want to go dark brown for our grungy, and we're going to do some of these splatters. I'll get a decent amount of ink on there. And we're just going to start going here. See how we like it. that looks interesting. We don't have to go super, super dark, but we can go as dark as we want. And this is a little harder to work with, but let's try and see if we can get a little. Yeah, that works. Just be gentle while we're putting the ink down. Yeah, that totally works. The lines are so small between that they're very easy to move. How about just a little here in the corner? Okay. I don't know how I feel about this grungy stuff. I don't love it, but it's all right. We can also go with our trusty grungy stamp. I'm going to do that next. Well, maybe I need to clean it off first. I think I'm going to go vintage photo for this one. It is not wanting to cooperate. Did I do melt that thing? Let's try the lens cleaner, because that often works better than just the baby wipe. I probably should have done that first. Better. Start on the edge here, so if we don't like it, I do like it though. Just add some of this around, and we'll, because remember when we cut this, it's not like just the edge is going to be an edge. It's going to, our edges are going to be wherever we cut it. So let me grab, I know I had the other, I want to do some more of this, but I want to use one of the other patterns. I know, there they are. I'll use this guy. And if you want it to be lighter, scrap paper, if you want it to be lighter, well, sheesh. Anyway, if you want it to be lighter, you can always stamp it first on a scratch piece of paper. So let's see what we end up with if we do that. So we're going to do part of it there, and then we're going to go here. I don't mind the dark though. You can also just do here and just do multiple stamps of the same thing here. All right, there's some grungy on there. Little there, little here. How about right there? Okay, making progress. All right, now let's do some other stamping. I'm going to pull out my bigger archival here because I've got some slightly larger stamps. So let's just start putting some of these in just random places. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to, it's okay if they don't come out solid like you would expect them to. I'm just going to add them randomly around. I do like these little flowers too. I think they're cute. These are often come out pretty light. They're nice and thin. So there's that layer of stamps. And we'll do more. We'll do more stamping here in another layer. I'm thinking that some of this, I want to see how dark it's going to, how much it's going to cover what we've already done. I want to check out this collage paper. This is the Tim Holtz collage paper. You know, that doesn't give us much. I want to use some. We're going to just tear it. But I don't want to use a ton. Well, that was silly there. I don't want to use a ton because it covers a lot of there's a lot of detail on there that covers a lot of what we've already done. And we don't want to lose everything. We want to build, not completely cover. Now, unless if you hate what you've done so far and you want to kind of start over, go for it. I'm going to look at my tissue paper here. It's kind of tucked back in, so I'm not going to pull it completely out. I'm just digging through to see if there's any colors that I like. I don't see anything super specific in there. Okay, so let's skip that and go back to, what if we add some of these? Let's add some of these papers. It's not our scraps, but let's add some. What colors do we want to go with? That's really pretty. Let's use some of that. Ooh, that purple is gorgeous. Look at that. We want to use some of that because that's really cool. Don't need that. Is there anything else in here that we want to use? This white with the holes is pretty cool. We might want to use a little bit of that, perhaps. That might be a little, we don't want to get too bulky. Oh, look at that's gorgeous. Okay, this has the holes in a pattern. Yeah, we want to use some of that. Okay, we don't want to get too crazy here. But we can get as crazy as we want to. All right, so let's take this off. This might not come off very great on this, and that's okay. This one's a little better. It's not going too great either. Holy. Well, I mean, I guess you got to expect that with these natural fiber papers. That's going to happen. All right. Now, so we've got some of these. Almost tried to pick that up. What else do we want? We still want some layers of like clearly delineated paper, I believe. Let me think here. Actually, I think before we do this next step, I'm gonna grab some markers. And what colors do we want? We want yellow, brown. Don't think we need to add any more blue. We're pretty heavy on the blue. Let me see what I got here. There's one. Here's kind of a medium gray. This, I don't really have a light brown. I've got a dark brown. That might be too dark. Oh, here's the light. I do have a light brown. It's hiding in the wrong container. All right. So here's some colors. I grabbed blue anyway. Here's some colors that we're going to try. So since we have sealed everything in with Mod Podge matte medium, if we want to use markers, it's not going to soak into the paper. It's going to sit on top, and it gives us just a little bit of time to smudge it, work with it, move it. So I like to do that to add depth. So I want to see, I'm just going to check down here in the corner how dark. That's a pretty pale yellow. So I'm going to go around the outside. Oh, that's not pale. Disregard, not yellow. Let's go brown. I'm going to add just a little bit at a time and smear it like this. And what it does is it's going to, you'll see how it makes this paper pop. Not much. You only want to do a little at a time because it does dry pretty quick, but you have just the smallest amount of working time with these Pitt pens. And it does take a while, but I think the effect is worth it. And if you get a spot that you leave too long and you don't like how it turned out, you can always just cover it with something else. See there, this really, now this pops and you can notice it so much more. You can do just a couple of sides, you can go all the way around, you can, sometimes I like to do just one side so it looks like there's a light source. That can be fun. And you get messy. And these are permanent. So once they dry, they're there. These are not water reactive. Okay, see, I did just a little bit too much there at one time. And you don't want to rub super hard because it can pull up the matte medium. It just kind of pulls it forward, but also, I don't know, I don't want to say it makes make sense. As you get more and more on, it just, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. We're just going to go with that. All right, so there's those few. Let's add our colors up there. Let's go ahead and add some of these now. Now that does cover quite a bit. So this is where you start making a few decisions about what you might want to cover versus what you want to definitely not cover, right? Because of the weight of this paper, you're still going to see through it, but not as much as with some of these other ones. So let me grab the matte medium back out. And grab this. Yeah, you can see some through. I like it. I think that's really pretty. Gives us a really nice natural look. Add some over here. Oops. making a irritating shadow there. Right, and let's put some right here. How about that way? I didn't even get it down far enough. That is okay. Oh, you can even see the grunging through. So it is a little bit more transparent than it looked like. So that's okay. We like that. All right, now, do we want to do more stamping first or after we do some of these? These are more textured, so I'm going to say we're going to do more stamping for, oh, we wanted to put a little of this on. Let's do that now. Oops, that was a tiny piece. All right, well, he's going to go right here. Not thinking, just doing. If I was thinking, I probably wouldn't have picked that piece with the red. We'll have to cover that up with something, I think. I'm not super fond of that. And that piece might be a little big, so I'm going to rip that. Right. There's that. How about some of these words? Might be kind of cool. Do we want it right here, or do we want it up there? Let's go up here. And let's add just a little down in this corner. We are going over something that's already wet, but I think that's all right. And, oops, well, that's okay. Look, it's going to be a little bit wonky. No worries. We are still pulling some of that purple. Well, no, we're not. It just looks a little bit like it. Maybe we are. I don't know. Don't matter. One more little date. Right here. There. Okay. Now, going to hit this with the dryer, and it'll be one moment. Okay, I do feel like we're missing a little bit of blue down here, and I didn't have any more scrap of that napkin, so I pulled out a new one. I want to add just a little bit down here in this area. Don't know that we necessarily need to have the dragonfly, but we're gonna, we could go with some of the space between. Like this flower might be kind of cool. Let's separate this out. There's one layer. Where's the other one? There. I'm going to take a peek at how much we think we need. I want to go, I think, with more of the flower area. And here's a little trick. Oh, it's got paint on it. We just need, let's use this little trick to, I don't want to get water all over that. Let me find something to do it on. Okay, here. Little trick to cutting out, I guess you could say, an image from a napkin wet brush and go around the image that you want to keep. And then simply lift it. And that will cut your, that might not be wet enough. Essentially gives you a nice, ooh, I got that too wet. Oh no. Oh gosh. It's gonna be tricky. I got overboard with my water. Can I do it? It lets you keep the image you want, but have a torn edge. I don't want the straight edge here, so let's see. Yeah, that's enough water. And then you see it just pulls right off. Now, we'll see what kind of trouble I cause because I have glue on my fingers. Let's get that out of the way. It's not wet glue though, it's just sticky. Here we go. Nope. This. Okay, let's dry this guy off. Need a rag. Okay, now we're gonna put this right in this area. I feel like we're lacking some blue over here. Very gently. Now, this is substantially brighter, right? Because we didn't put the gesso on it. But we can do a couple different things to push it back. We could go with just a little bit. Let's see how this would work. We're just going to try it right here in the corner. I'm all stuck to it. And we can go with a layer of white on top. Let's just try it. We said we're experimenting here. I know I'm putting wet on wet. Also not the best idea. Yes, I like that better. Okay. We don't want to get too crazy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and use my wet paintbrush trick to go over here and pull off what I don't want. Still got to be gentle, but it gives you so much more control. All right, let's go ahead and glue down those edges. Okay, that color looks so much more in line with the other color. And we're coming down to our last couple layers. We're going to add some texture, more stamping. So we're getting close, but definitely not a super fast process. But it's so relaxing. I'm going to hit it with the dryer and I will be right back. Okay, we're going to do another layer of stamping before we do our textured paper. Where did it go? Here's one. Uh-oh, where'd the purple go? Oh, there it is. Okay. So I picked out a couple of stamps that I want to use. This one's pretty solid all on its own, but I want to do these in either dark brown or black. I think we're going to go ahead and use this bird cage again because it is really pretty. Let's see what this looks like in a dark brown. And if we prefer it in a black, then we'll do it in black. Looks like we got most of it on there. Let's just go smack in the middle. Well, that doesn't work very good, does it? All right. What about if we just do a little section? Nope. Too much texture and too stiff of a stamp. All right. So not that. Do we have... What else? What else? What do we got maybe for a bird or a... Oh, he's cute. Bird it is. This little bird is gonna be who we go for. There's what he's gonna look like. I'm thinking we just stick with black. We've got a good amount of brown grunging, so let's just stick with black. And then I just picked a couple of words and numbers. So let's get this out of the way for now. And let's see how our bird fares with our slightly lumpy paper. Hopefully better than the leaves. Let's just stick him right there and give it a look. Oh, he's cute. I'm gonna do a couple of these. And they can go any direction because we don't know how we're gonna cut it. There, a couple of birds. Let's go ahead with our bird cage. I'm wondering if we should use... The jet black and the black soot are slightly different colors. Let's try one of these and see what we think. And remember, most likely the same image is not going to appear twice in the same project. So if there's one we don't, they don't have to match. I like this better. It seems more crisp. Maybe it's just the stamp, I don't know. But let's throw a few of these on there in various locations and directions. Doesn't have to be perfect, thankfully, because it's not. Try to give it a little more pressure, see if I can get it a little better. That is better. Okay. Let's throw one right here with a little more care than we did that middle one. Not perfect, but okay. How about one up here in this corner? All right. So there's that. And remember, when we cut these, you can always do more stamping as you're working with them. So it's not like this has to be the end product. It most definitely does not. And that's part of the fun of doing these, is that there's the opportunity to add more while you're using it. So let's go now with these. This is publishers and booksellers. I think this is pretty cool, so we're going to go with that. Different directions, and we don't know how these will be set. Yeah, I'm starting to question if we even need those other colored papers. We might not. We might be good. Let's toss on some numbers. I know why I turned it around, because it doesn't matter. We're just going every direction. So if you have some naked spots, you can be okay with that and add to it later. If you want to make sure everything is covered, also fine. I'm actually going to, now this, I don't even think we put anything on that. We got one like super naked spot, and I want to put this up there. Oh, don't be in my way. Oh, gosh. Really, of all the places? Oh, it still worked. Good deal. Okay. Now, let's make just a quick judgment call on whether or not we want to add this. A little here. I think we might, but maybe not the purple. We're going to do little pieces of this, and we are very close to finished. There, and maybe a little piece here. All right, let's get this down, and then we will get to our very last step. Just some texture here. And you'll see it's not like any, I mean, other than the stamps, right? The stamps stand out quite a bit, but the different layers, they blend, and it's the building process that really creates the interest. Not any one bit on any of this is like, oh, that's the most important part. It's not. It all works together. All right. So, last step. We're going to close up our matte medium while we're letting that dry. And we're going to hit it with the dryer here again in a second as well. But let's get that put away. We're going to want to do splatters for sure. So our last step is splattering. So let me hit this with the dryer, and then I'll be right back. All right, we are ready for splattering. So I've got my watered down black acrylic here. I like to use a round brush. You can use, if you want little bitty splatters, you can use a toothbrush. Some people like to use a fan brush. I like the different sizes that you get from using a bit larger brush here. All right, so it looks like there's at least one area that we must not have gotten covered very well with the matte medium, because you can see it's soaked into the paper. But it happens. It's okay. This is messy. Don't wear shirts that you don't want to get ruined. And the less paint you have on your brush, the smaller your splatters will be. You can do, I like to do black and white, but you can also do, oh, I got a black splatter in my white paint. Come on now. That was a nonsense decision to have them both opened at the same time. You can do other colors as well. Well, let's see, what can we do here? Can we get at least most of that black out? I think we got most of it out. I need to make more anyway, because it's, so let's just do that real quick in case you're wondering. We'll hit this with the dryer because we don't want it to turn gray. But we'll let it dry a little bit on its own while we are making more of our white paint. So just throw some white in there. This is already really good and thin, but it does work better with some water. Now, my water dish or cup over here is dirty, so I'm gonna grab some water just out of a clean spray bottle here. That looks gross. That needs to be emptied out and redone. I don't know what is floating in there. Here we go. And here's another one. I'm gonna add just a little bit of water. You want it to be very fluid. If it's too thick, you'll know because it won't come off your brush. It won't splatter in a way that you like. But if it's too thin, it's not going to be opaque when it dries. Now, I like it to be opaque, so I'm going to close this for a moment. And I'm going to dry. Okay, our black is completely dry, and I made one more decision about jazzing something up. So, first, let's get our white mixed up. We added that water, so we just want to mix it good. Okay. Get just a little out. Can always add more. So we're going to put our white splatters. Just more interest. A little bit more paint because I want a couple of bigger ones. Okay. Pull off any extra paint back into here. I think that looks good. Oh, come on. And one more dry. Okay, we are sufficiently dry here. I thought it might be fun to jazz this up just a little bit. So I'm gonna add some mica powder splatters, and you can use watercolor. You would want to really mix it thick if you want it to be opaque. But I've got this mica powder that I bought quite a while ago. It was like $6 or $12 for a set of 24 of these little vials, and you'll never use it all. So I'm gonna just grab some and put it in the water here. You don't need a lot. I'm gonna put that in the water and see if that's enough. I close it up immediately, whether I'm done with it or not, because if you spill this stuff, yeah, you're never getting it picked up. This stuff is messy. So let's see. I might have got a little too much water. Let's see if we can just pull some over. Oh my gosh. Hey, this is kind of fun. You get over there. We don't need that much water, but I want it to be more saturated. Let me soak some of this up. There. It would take too much to get that completely, that full amount saturated, but I want it a little more. Like I said, I don't do this very often, so I'm not the best at knowing exactly how much we need. But I think our piece needs a little bit of gold, a little bit of pizzazz. That looks better. I'm just doing it in here because I don't want it all over the palette. And the sparkle on these are so incredible. And when it dries, it's even cooler. When it's wet, it's kind of fun to watch because it's, you know, the mic is moving around in the water. It's kind of neat, but not too often, but sometimes it just feels like we need a little bit of extra something. little bit of sparkle. Alright, I don't know if you can see as some of it's drying how that mica then sits down and it becomes much brighter. So I'm going to, this dries pretty quick. It's doing quite well. Let me hit it real quick. I'm just going to leave you on because it's only going to take a second. I don't know if you can see the color transforming as it dries, but let's see if we can do one here. So if we pay attention right there, let's see. Isn't that so cool how it does that? Like I said, I don't use this too much, but all right, let's pull off our tape and give you a closer look. And, you know, plan to spend a couple of hours doing it. You know, it took us an hour and a half to do it here together, but there was a lot of pause time for drying as well. So just keep that in mind. But you can stop at any time, come back to it, add to it. If you get stuck, go have a coffee. Let's pull this off. I'll get this unstuck. I totally glued it to my paper there. All right. There's a couple spots that aren't quite dry, but I think that's okay. I wonder if I can get more light on it or not. Let me see if I can move. No, I think that's about as bright as we're going to get, but let's see if we can get a little shimmer showing on here. So we're going to have lots of options to use this in pretty much whatever we want. It's not so thick that we're going to run into the trouble with our corner rounder. And if you want it to be completely perfectly flat, you can see here we've got a little bit of warping, which is expected when you're putting multiple layers of wet on paper. But if you want it completely flat, you can cover it up with like parchment paper and you can iron it and it'll be flat as can be. So thanks for hanging out today. Again, thank you for letting me know that you wanted to see this. It was really fun. Not something I do often, but definitely something I needed to get done. So I'm glad that you wanted to come along with me. So I will catch all of you guys next time, and I hope you have a lovely Sunday. Bye!